Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry, and in this video I'm going to show you some ways of cheating shore power for your RV. And when I say cheating, what I mean is getting more power from a shore power box like this than it's originally intended for. It may or may not cause you to use more electricity than the RV park intends, but it's not going to be anything significant for the RV park as far as cheating them out of getting too much electricity. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, this is the ideal type of shore power box that you want for your RV, where there is a 50 amp outlet, a 30 amp outlet, and a 20 amp outlet. And here are the breakers for it. Now, some of the older RV parks that started out with having only a 30 or a 30 and a 20, there are still a lot of those around. The reason we have 50 is because at some point in the RV industry, we started getting these larger RVs with 2 air conditioners instead of 1. And that's something that didn't happen in the old days. All RVs were fairly small and had only 1 air conditioner. So when the big RVs started coming out, then they needed 50 amp. But a lot of the old RV parks just did not upgrade their system with these big boxes and had 30 amp only, or 30 and 20. My motorhome has 2 air conditioners. But look at this. This motorhome has 1, 2, 3 air conditioners. It's gonna need 50 amp, at least in the summer. Now this guy just pulled up with a small travel trailer, and he has only 1 air conditioner, so he is not gonna need any more than 30 amps. Now, for even the largest RVs, 50 amps can actually provide you up to 100 amps, 50 amps per line. And that is the most. Actually, it's a lot more than you're ever going to need, with one exception. Even though I have a 50 amp motorhome, my inverter has a 30 amp fuse, and the inverter feeds electricity to all of the electrical outlets in my motorhome. And plugged into those electrical outlets are televisions and your refrigerator and your microwave. Those are the biggest items, which normally is not a problem. However, if you do go over 30 amps of anything that's powered through the inverter, it's going to trip the breaker on the inverter. And that's going to happen even if the inverter is turned off. Because when you're plugged in the shore power, you don't need to have the inverter on, but still, all those power to electric outlets go through the inverter. And even with it turned off, it's still going to trip the breaker if you go over 30 amps. And I found that out, I think it was 3 years ago, in the winter when it was really cold and I could not use my heat pump. If you have an air conditioner with a built-in heat pump, it's not going to put out heat if the outside temperature is under about 36 degrees. So then you have to either use your propane furnace or use space heaters. So I had 2 space heaters plugged into electrical outlets, and then I think it happened when I turned on my microwave oven. It put me over 30 amps and it tripped the breaker, which turns off all of the electricity. And when that happened, I had no idea what was wrong. All of a sudden my power goes out. So I packed things up and I went to an RV repair shop and said, to them what had happened, and they took a look at it and said, oh, you need to push this button to reset the breaker that is physically on the inverter itself. That I didn't know. So now I know never to use more than one space heater off of the electrical outlets. However, there is a way to cheat a little bit and get around that. So I installed something kind of unique. I've never seen anybody else do it. And this compartment here is right behind my refrigerator. So I had installed one electrical outlet that had a dedicated connection to it. So when I pull out all of this electrical cord, which is rated for 20 amps, then I plug it into here, turn on the breaker, and now I have an extra 20 amps in addition to the 50 amp connection. And all that does is provide power to this specific outlet right here. So now I can plug another space heater or other kitchen appliances into there without worrying about my inverter breaker tripping. Now, one way to cheat on shore power is when you have a situation like this, where you've got two power boxes right close to each other, and it has 30 amp only. This one has 30 amp only. So what you can do in a situation like that is get one of these devices. It has a 50 amp female connection on this end, and on the other end has two 30 amp male connections, just like this. And I bought this on Amazon, which is probably the best place to find them. So you plug these two into those two boxes. Now the two outlets have to be pretty close together, and this one just barely makes it. So you plug your 50 amp into here, which goes into your RV, and now you've got 60 amps coming in instead of having to settle for only 30. Now the only problem might be is that this top box is for my space, and the bottom box, number 3, is for this space right next to me. Now fortunately, I'm the only one here in this little campground. But if more RVers do show up and somebody wants to park right next to me, then I'm going to have to give up my double 30 and just go back to a single 30. But I lucked out here, and I'm going to take advantage of that as long as I can. Now here's another way to cheat. If you're in an RV park where you do not have a 50 amp outlet, but you have a 30 and a regular household outlet like this, which could be either 15 or 20 amp, then if you can get you a contraption like this, that's a 50. And on the other end, it splits here, where one side has a 30 amp, and then this side has a regular connection like that. So you plug both the 30 and the 15/20 into there, and then plug your RV cord into there. So that combines the 30 and the 20, if it's 20, and that gives you 50 amps. Or if that's a 15 instead of a 20, then you get 45 amps. Now these devices are hard to find, but they do sell them on Amazon. However, the big problem with these is if at the RV park you're at, has a GFC outlet where there's a reset button right in the middle instead of a regular household outlet like this, then it's not going to work, because the GFCI recognizes the 30 amp coming in from the other side somehow, and it just won't tolerate that, and as soon as you plug it in, it's going to trip that reset button. I've tried it, and it always does it right away, and then it's just not going to work at all. Finding a regular outlet like this that does not have the GFCI feature is pretty rare. Pretty much all RV parks have upgraded to the GFCIs. Now there's one more trick I want to show you, and it involves this device that has a 50 amp female on there, which plugs into the 50 amp male that comes from the RV. And on the other end of that device that I showed you previously is a double 30 amp. Two 30 amp outlets that are wired together into this device. And then I have two of these devices with 30 amp female on one end and a 20 amp male on the other, which plugs into here like that one is. And what I have here is two sets of 20 amp outlets. So yes, you're guessing right. That is giving me 40 amps of electricity into my RV. Now, by the way, it's not going to do you any good to plug both of those into here or both of those into there, because each one of those sets of two provides 20 amps. So if I were to plug both of those into here, it's not going to give me 40, it's just going to give me 20, because the 20 amps are split between those two outlets. There's two outlets there simply for convenience. It doesn't give you more power. And also, these two sets of two have to be on different circuits. If for some reason the electrician wired those so that both, or let's say all four outlets go into the same circuit breaker, it's only going to give you 20, not 40. And I confirmed with my RV's electrical management system that it is showing 40 amps available. Well folks, I hope at least one of these various tricks I've showed you to, quote, cheat on shore power has done some good, that you will be able to use some of these, or at least one of these tricks, sometime into the future. But you have to get the right connections, just like I showed you, to get it to work. Let me know in the comments below if this is going to help you. Good day, folks.